He drew one of the men's bayonets, pulled up a fold of the flesh over my ribs, worked the point through after considerable trouble, and gave the blade a half a turn. I winced as the blood dripped down my thigh. He seemed pleased, dabbled it across my stomach with his fingers. Then he sat down, whispered to the corporal to take me out and teach me everything. The force of that night will lie in the agony which broke me and made me surrender. For fear of being hurt, or rather to earn 5 minutes of respite from a pain which drove me mad, I gave away the only possession we are born into the world with, our bodily integrity. It's an unforgivable matter, an irrecoverable position.
After his physical recovery, Lawrence continued his military victories, and his power and reputation in Arabia had never been stronger. But a new piece had been added to the puzzle, a bitter, vengeful piece.
We passed the bodies of men and women and 4 dead babies. I looked closely and saw the body of a woman nailed to a sheepfold by a saw bayonet, whose haft stuck hideously into the air from between her naked legs. She had been pregnant, and about her lay perhaps 20 others, variously killed, but set out in accord with obscene taste. I said, the best of you brings me the most Turkish dead. By my order, we took no prisoners. It was a night in which mankind went crazy, when death seemed impossible, however many died to the right and left, and when others' lives seemed like toys to break and throw away. The plain was scattered over with dead men and animals. In a madness born of the horror of that place, we killed and killed, even blowing in the heads of the fallen and the animals.
The campaign drove on ruthlessly to its climax. Lawrence and the Arabs, Allenby and the Allies, fought their way to the outskirts of Damascus, brightest jewel in the Arab crown. Early in the morning, Lawrence entered the city.
Every man, woman, and child in this city of 250,000 souls seemed in the streets, awaiting only the spark of our appearance to ignite their spirits. Damascus went mad with joy.
Lawrence was not the first into Damascus, though he badly needed to be, in order to establish the Arab claims. He was beaten there by the Australians and their general, Harry Chauvel.
The Australian Mounted Division occupied Damascus the night before Lawrence arrived. I was most irritated with him because of his unauthorized disappearance. My only political advisor, gone off, God knows where. He installed an Arab as governor, contrary to the orders I'd received from Allenby, and deceived me into believing it was the will of the people. I must admit that he had the Arabs successfully administering the city in short order and performed remarkable feats of organization. But it all ended conclusively when Allenby arrived. Faisal and Lawrence entered the conference room together, the Arab prince as regal a man as any I have seen. Without preamble, General Allenby informed him that although he was to have Syria, it was to be under French guidance and control, and that he could not have the Lebanon. He must accept a French liaison officer at once, who would work with Lawrence. Faisal objected very strongly.
What new treachery is this? I know nothing of France in this matter. I am prepared to accept British assistance. understood from Lawrence, whom you sent me, that we are to have the whole of Syria, independently, including the Lebanon. A country with no port is of no value to me or my people. Furthermore, I cannot, will not accept a French officer, nor shall I, or any Arab, accept French guidance in any way.
But did you not tell him that the French were to have the protectorate over Syria?
No, sir, I know nothing about it.
But you knew definitely that the Emir Faisal was to have nothing to do with Lebanon.
No, sir, I did not.
Emir Faisal, I am Commander-in-Chief. You are requested to obey my orders. Will you agree?
For now, General, I have no choice. But only for now.
I cannot work in any capacity with a French officer. I am, as you know, due for leave. I wish to take it immediately and return to England.
Damascus was liberated and the Turks beaten. Allenby could not have done it without the Arabs, without Lawrence. For him now, it was all ashes. He had taken the Arab dream as his own, and with it, responsibility for its success. The British betrayal made a mockery of his promises and his vow to a young boy.
I wrought for him freedom to lighten his sad eyes, but he had died waiting for me. So I threw my gift away, and now not anywhere will I find rest and peace.
He returned to London a hero, addressed the War Cabinet, and was quickly accepted as a senior advisor. The peace talks began in Paris. Lawrence, Hogarth, and Faisal attended to fight for Arab independence. They began the talks full of hope that they were to end in betrayal and disillusionment.
We lived many lives in those whirling campaigns, never sparing ourselves. Yet when we achieved, and the new world dawned, the old men came out again, and took our victory to remake in the likeness of the former world they knew. We stammered that we had worked for a new heaven and a new earth, and they thanked us kindly and made their peace.
I must resign and go back to Oxford. I am sick at heart at all the fiasco and the melancholy consummation of 4 years' work. Think that we are to hand over Faisal and Syria to Senegalese troops and take Palestine with our hands and our feet tied. I won't blame the Arabs if they take out their rifles. I hate the idea of ever setting foot in an Arab land again.
Within a year, the British had withdrawn from Damascus, the French had seized it, and Faisal had been sent into exile. But Lawrence would not give in. He began an intense campaign of letter writing to force the British government to honor Arab freedom. Not for the last time, he infuriated the administration.
Colonel Lawrence's letters are carefully calculated indiscretions. It is quite clear that his motive is solely to justify himself in the eyes of the Arab people.
He just couldn't quietly go away. He declined to accept his military medals from the king while the Arabs were so unjustly betrayed. His Majesty was not pleased. His future uncertain, he returned to Oxford.
I just wander about, quietly thinking. As soon as I can get the nomad out of me and be quite peaceful, I shall not want to hear about the East again.
It was not to be. Lowell Thomas arrived in London to give his illustrated lectures. Thomas exploited the popular image of Lawrence as a hero. He made him into a very public figure and made himself a large sum of money. Winston Churchill, as head of the Colonial Office, then convinced him to become an advisor on Arab affairs. Though together they achieved a temporary peace in Arabia, it was a meager triumph. Tired, ill, and depressed, he resigned his post in 1922. Despite his public image, Lawrence was tortured by failure and guilt and began writing his book on the Arab campaign, The 7 Pillars of Wisdom. He attacked it ferociously, ignoring sleep, hunger, and comfort.
By putting all the troubles and dilemmas on paper, I hoped to work out my path again and satisfy myself how wrong or how right I had been.
He rewrote the book twice and dedicated it to the then unknown S.A., to whom's real name was Salim Ahmed. The book finished, he had no task to fulfill. With little money, he was eating poorly and sleeping where he could. Obsessed with the need to do penance, he manipulated friends in power to get what he wanted. Entry into the Air Force at the lowest possible rank.
God, this is awful. Hesitating for 2 hours up and down a filthy street. Lips and hands and knees tremulously out of control. My heart pounding in fear of that little door through which I must go to join up.
Hello?
Naked we come into the RAF.
Sounds like a rabbit.
This was an alternative to suicide, a kind of mental death that would free him from the confusion, the insistent sense of shame. To help him in his loss of self, he changed his name to John Hume Ross.
Just say 34. Not exactly what we want. After a few weeks at the depot, you'll pull up all right.
Thank you very much, sir.
Lawrence endured everything that life on the bottom rung could throw at him. This hero to the world was degraded and abused, all by choice. The men he served with said of him that in a puzzling way he could change the whole tone of the barracks for the better. Aware of his identity, they were intensely protective of his privacy. The officers, though, were uncomfortable with his presence and revealed his refuge to the press. The outcry was widespread, his discharge immediate. Once more, he did not belong. He spent 6 desperate weeks till he was admitted to the Tank Corps as a private. He changed his name again to Shaw and was posted to Bovington Camp in Dorset. But this time, the refuge was not to be a comfort.
It's terrible to hold myself voluntarily here. And yet, I want to stay here till it no longer hurts me. Till the burnt child no longer feels the fire.
2 things enriched his life in the army. One was a small house near the camp, Clouds Hill. Here was sanctuary.